River Tales is brought to you by Southeast Missouri Hospital.
On this edition of River Tales, we take you behind the scenes of an extraordinary trip. The Scotland Military Tattoo and the Southeast Missouri State Golden Eagles Marching Band. One of only 4 schools in the United States that has ever played in this premier worldwide event. This program gives you a behind-the-scenes look at the faculty and students that traveled, practiced, and performed at this magnificent venue.
My name is Barry Bernhardt. I'm the Director of Bands here at Southeast Missouri State. I've been here since 1990, fall of 1990. I grew up in Missouri. I'm from Macon, Missouri, up in northeast Missouri. The Golden Eagles Marching Band just recently returned from Scotland from a 5-week tour at the Edinburgh Military Tattoo. When you think of the word tattoo, you think ink on skin or whatever, and really what a military tattoo is a military band display. The Edinburgh Tattoo is the oldest and largest event of its kind in the world. It is performed on the esplanade or the parking lot in front of the Edinburgh Castle, and the backdrop is probably one of the best backdrops of show business. It's the picturesque Edinburgh Castle, and 10,000 people a night attend this event, and it's a 90-minute show that we had an 8-minute segment by ourselves, and then we were in the finale, which was about a 20-minute finale every night for 26 nights. It's an amazing spectacle, and people that see it on the BBC or PBS or even by the DVD or videos, they look at it and say, boy, this is really exciting, but it's not the same until you go there and see it firsthand and see what the spectacle is all about. It's the pomp and circumstance. We've been very fortunate. In the history of the tattoo, the Edinburgh Tattoo, there have only been 4 times that a U.S. college marching band has been invited. We've gotten, just recently this invitation to come back to the tattoo for this past summer in 2008, and it's a real honor again. And once again, our students came through. What we ask our students to do in a short amount of time is to be a professional musician. I look at the bands that participate. Her Majesty's Royal Marines, so it'd be like the President's own band in Washington, D.C., or the U.S. Army Field Band. The King's Guard from Norway. It's the top military band in Norway. I mean, the top. And we're asking our students in 4 days of rehearsal to go over there and perform for a month at that level. So it's a lot to ask of our students, but it's really interesting and it's exciting for me to see how the students grow quickly and how they come up to that level quickly, especially when they first start hearing those other groups when we're overseas. The university, thankfully, was gracious enough to help us out with some of our extra things. But the majority of the trip was funded by the students. We've had some donors in the community that have helped, some parents that have helped, raise some of that money, but I would say by and large, the students paid for the trip. We left on the 21st of July and we flew to London, and we gave the students 48 hours in London. Not nearly enough time, but I've always felt in the 3 trips that I've done overseas to the tattoo, I've always felt that it's important, if you're going to be in the UK, to at least spend a few days in London. So much great history, and everybody, there's all those great landmarks that everybody wants to see, Big Ben and Parliament and Westminster Abbey and St. Paul's and just everything. And so that's what we did. We stayed in London at a nice hotel in central London and taught the kids how to ride the tube and just kind of get around, and they just had a wonderful time seeing London on their own. We left then on that Saturday and went up to York, England, which is about halfway between London and Edinburgh. And York is a wonderful old Roman city. It's a walled city in Europe, and then it was taken over by the Vikings. So it has this big Viking heritage. but kind of a picturesque little city. It's all pretty compact. We stayed at the university there and rehearsed for a good day, and to kind of get back in the swing of things again and get used to the time change. And then our second day in York, we did a little standstill in the town squares in the city center of York, and we were able to get a parade permit and do a parade down through the city of York, and we even stopped at the Lord Mayor's residence and played for the Lord Mayor of York. And he presented each band member with a medal with the city of York symbol on it, and so it was a really nice time. And then the students had time to see the Minster and the other shambles and the other places in York. And then we took off and went up to Edinburgh. And Edinburgh was, for the first 4 or 5 days, was fast and furious. We stayed at the University of Edinburgh, and it was wonderful because we were so close to the city. We were about 2 blocks away from the Royal Mile, and about a 10-minute walk from the castle. So we were very centrally located. On Sunday, our first Sunday in town, then we did Studio Jazz Ensemble played for the opening of the Jazz and Blues Festival at Ross Bandstand, which is in Princess Street Gardens, right below Princess Street. So sandwiched in between the main street and the castle is this lovely garden, and they have a big bandstand and a kind of an amphitheater. About 20,000 people, I'd say, 15 to 20,000 were there. Studio Jazz played, and then the Golden Eagles did a standstill performance. Then we got into business. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday we did rehearsals with the rest of the cast, by ourselves, at the castle, out at Redford Cavalry Barracks, where the rest of the cast was staying. And our days were basically, we were doing about 4 rehearsals a day, either by ourselves or with the rest of the cast. And then we had a couple of extra calls. We did a standstill performance in the square outside the city chambers for the Lord Provost and his wife and the news media. And then we were invited up to one of the big rooms for the city chambers, and he fed us a traditional Scottish meal, haggis, neeps and tatties.
Pitches. Correct way, please.
What they got out of the trip, what we all got out of this trip, were things that we never expected. When you visit another culture, you take away, and I'm going to focus here on the little things of the other culture. The little differences that make Europe and England and Scotland different from us are the things that our students weren't really prepared to deal with. Not that they were difficult to deal with, they were just different. In terms of language, there's differences. Instead of little, they say we in Scotland. In terms of food, we eat different foods than they do. In terms of our just day-to-day activities, once we got there, we didn't have the TV or the internet to entertain us, so we had to find things to entertain us that were hopefully free, because none of us had any money. So we were going to museums and all sorts of places just to see the town. And in the course of acclimating ourselves to the culture, we became so endeared to our friends over there and so endeared to the military tattoo itself. Every night the kids were performing in front of 10,000 brave-hearted souls who were going out in the pouring rain some nights, and the kids performing in that. And it could have gone either way. I mean, the students could have reacted with the sense of, oh, this is terrible, the rain is awful, the weather is just terrible, I wish I wasn't here. But it never happened that way. What happened was they would just grit their teeth every time it would rain, and the show would be even better that night.
Being in a foreign country and getting used to eating different things, and a lot of them, we're used to ice-cold beverages over here, and that was one thing the students had to get used to is, you know, there's not much ice over there. Just little things like that, getting used to differences. I think a new appreciation for that, you know, it's a big world out there, and it was a great opportunity for everybody involved to do that. And it was a huge undertaking by the marching band and Barry Bernhardt and the whole university to do this, but I think it was definitely well worth it. And the students that went, the 9,500 students that went, I think it's a once in a lifetime for them. And they'll always think back at, you know, standing behind the castle before they're performing. You know, this is over 1,000-year-old castle that they got to perform in front of every night. You know, 10,000, you know, spectators every night. It's just an awe moment that they'll never forget.
And there was one performance that came out first, and they were the Scottish fife and drums, and, you know, of course, wonderful Scottish music. And I'm enjoying it and thinking what a beautiful setting and how special this is. And then the announcer calls the Golden Eagles from the United States, you know, located on the Mississippi River. And so it's you know, dark with the flares. And so the band comes out. There's a flute player that comes out, and the flute player is playing Yankee Doodle, just a solo of Yankee Doodle. Very effective, because everybody's very quiet. And then the rest of the band comes in and starts playing, and all of a sudden, here's this, from my point of view, the most emotionally intense moment of pride that I believe I have ever experienced for Southeast. I wish every person could experience it.
In sharp contrast, from the Show Me State come the Golden Eagles marching band of the Southeast Missouri State University, a college founded 135 years ago, just 52 years after Missouri, the gateway to the West, became the 24th state of the United States of America. They enter, appropriately, to Yankee Doodle. The baton twiller is Whitney Beesing. First seen in Edinburgh in 1999, this is one of 6 bands within the Department of Music in the Holland School of Visual and Performing Arts on the campus at Cape Girardeau. Famous Missourians, let me remind you, include Jesse James, Mark Twain, T.S. Eliot, and President Harry Truman.
Music has been a part of my life since I was born, since my dad has been a band director, you know. Music has been a part of our family. I used to walk up and down the driveway with pots and pans banging them all day, and you know, I started playing the piano when I was 8 or 9, and then, you know, my true passion has always been the drums. We've known that we've been going to Scotland since 2005. So we've kind of been preparing since then financially and everything, saving up money.
This is something Mr. Bernhardt has been pushing ever since they went in '99. He's been trying to secure a spot for the Golden Eagles to go back to Scotland. And every single year, this is my 4th year in band, he shows the Scotland tape from '99. My freshman year, he showed it, my sophomore year, my junior year.
Mr. Bernhardt is obviously one that's very excited about the tattoo. And that was actually one of the first things that he talked about to me whenever I came for my little interview with him. He pointed at the big picture on the wall and he's like, "We're going again." And he's like, "You better jump on board so you can come with us."
We came, everyone met in late July, and we practiced 9 hours a day for 5 or 6 days, and that was out on parking lots, on the asphalt parking lots.
It was very hot outside when we were doing that because it was toward the end of July, and we ended up rehearsing in the Show Me Center parking lot because he wanted us to rehearse on a slope so we could get kind of used to that, because that's the Esplanade where we performed was at a slope.
I think they said that with being on the blacktop and everything that it was a heat index of above 100. And so my main excitement thing about going to Europe, going to Scotland and everything, it was going to be much, much, much cooler. And so I was definitely ready to get out of the hot July weather in Missouri.
We got all our stuff packed up and we left. We drove to Chicago. There was 2 flights. There was an early flight and a late flight out of Chicago. So one group left at 8 o'clock and the next group left at 10 o'clock. Then once we got to Chicago, we flew straight from Chicago to London Heathrow. We arrived in London Heathrow the next morning early with basically no sleep and went all day.
We got to London and we were all really, really, really tired. I remember I had such a hard time staying awake. I was trying to find things to keep me distracted, and I was literally falling asleep in my chair while we were waiting to get our hotel rooms.
We had a bus tour first thing when we got there, so we were all trying to stay awake for this bus tour and learn all about London, and there were some neat stops and everything. We got to stop at Buckingham Palace and look at that, and then it was really neat.
London was kind of our, get used to Europe and have a good time. We spent 2.5 days in London. We toured around. I went to several different touristy spots. We went to Harrods. We went to the Tower of London, some of the churches and things like that. Then we got on a charter bus and went to York, and we spent 2 days in York. And York was kind of our relax, but also start practicing again, get serious place.
We practiced out on a field, we practiced our show and practiced our music. But we did get to see York a little bit, and I really enjoyed York because it had a small town feel, but yet it was still big and had lots of things.
York is a beautiful city. It's a very old city, and most of it is actually still from the Middle Ages or the late 16th, 17th century.
In London and York, we were running around like crazy trying to cram in all the touristy kind of things and taking pictures like crazy. I'm a big photographer kind of person as far as documenting my life, I guess. I took a ton of pictures while we were in London and York, and I slowed down big time once we got to Edinburgh because I was like, we're here for 3 and 4 weeks, whatever, so I can take my time. And we did a lot of wandering around on the Royal Mile and on Princess Street, and there were a lot of tourist shops, and we got really, really familiar with those areas. One thing that I joked about was saying that I ended up knowing Edinburgh better than I know Cape Girardeau because we wandered around so much.
Welcome to Edinburgh.
It was different at first, but you got used to it. All kinds of shops to explore. The main area we spent most of our time on was the Royal Mile, and they have all kinds of tourist shops, and so that's where a lot of people got their souvenirs. There were several people who got kilts, and I ended up getting a kilt, which is a neat souvenir to have.
Most days, I'd get up, go eat brunch, and then, walk around the city or go find something to do for the day. There's so much to do in Edinburgh that doesn't cost anything. You can walk around, you can go see the sights, there's trails, you can go hiking, you can go down to the beach. We'd go to the internet cafes because we didn't have internet access in the dorms, and most of us didn't have laptops, so we'd go to an internet cafe, check our emails.
Also, something that was exciting is that we weren't living out of our suitcases anymore. We got to unpack and move in, and I definitely appreciated that. And it was fun because I got to know a lot of my bandmates a lot better. And just you were with friends the whole time, and that's what made it so much fun. They absolutely loved our jazz band. And one thing that just was crazy to me is people started swing dancing and stuff in front, on just the concrete in front of the stage. But they loved us over there, and it made it so much more fun, to have such a good audience that's captivated with your performance. It makes it so much easier to perform.
We were like celebrities over there. I mean, once we got there, we played for several different venues. We played for the Lord Mayor in his city chambers, and we played at the Mini Tattoo, and we played at the Princess Street Grandstand for the Blues and Jazz Festival. And those places were just packed with people. And you know, afterwards we could walk down the street, or after the tattoo you'd be walking down the street wearing a hat or a shirt or a jacket from the Golden Eagles, and they'd stop you and say, "Hey, I really liked your show. You guys did a great job. You were our favorite act."
A lot of the people, like at the tattoo, if they saw you walking around, they'd want a picture. And then, of course, other performers wanted pictures with you too. But when we went in one of the shops and we were looking at kilts, we started talking to the shop owner, and we told him that we were in the tattoo, and he's like, "Oh, you're in the tattoo. If you get me tickets, I'll give you a kilt." And it was just kind of funny because the tickets are really in demand over there.
Probably one of the things that I thought was extra cool is like we did a lot of shopping on the Royal Mile and stuff like that, and as soon as the tattoo CD came out in the little tattoo store, people were playing it in their shops. And so we would be in there just looking around at stuff, you know, look at this cashmere scarf. What's that I hear? The Golden Eagles marching band over the radio? You know, you're not used to hearing yourself on, you know, in a store when you're just out wandering around. And I had people stop me. I'd be wearing something that said like SEMO or whatever like that. And I had this one lady stop me, and she was like, "Are you one of the Golden Eagles?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "We're from Missouri." And she was all excited about it. "You guys are representing us really well." She got so excited. Excited about is we did a little dance session in our show, and we called it the Crunk. And it was funny because we all, you know, put our instruments down, the flags, throw their flags down, and we just break it down, and everybody's like, "What?"
Every time we'd step out onto the Esplanade, I didn't really get tired of it. It was good. It was a good experience, and I enjoyed just performing for that big crowd and seeing their reaction, and it was just a good experience. I enjoyed it a lot.
It was really incredible to play in front of that many people every night. The first couple nights, you know, I was kind of nervous because they were media nights and there was cameras all over the place. Photographers almost attacking us with flashes and their cameras. And you know, once we kind of got settled down in the show, it was a little more relaxed. And the BBC came, and all the jitters just came right back, because I realized, you know, this is going to be put on a DVD and be watched for years to come and be viewed by 100 million people live. So it was pretty intense. I mean, I've been playing in marching band and playing in band for about 10 years now, and I've never had an experience like that.
Well, I think I'd definitely say that it was an experience of a lifetime, and I'm so glad that I did it, because I don't know that I'll ever get a chance to go overseas. You know, teachers don't get paid that much, so I don't see me making any big trips like that in the future.
Incredible time to be in Edinburgh, and when we left, a friend of mine over there, she goes, "Oh, so the circus is leaving town, huh?" And anyway, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was an experience of a lifetime.
I'm looking and I'm thinking, these are the Golden Eagles, and I started crying. It was so emotional to me. I had such pride in the band. Just a wonderful experience for Southeast Missouri State University.
When you actually stop and think about it, it was like, well, did we really do this? Were we really over there for that long? And it was very emotional. Even as a faculty member, sitting on the sidelines saying, yeah, those are my students out there.
The last show was definitely the hardest, because I knew that I would never play that again. I'd never be out there in front of that many people in that setting with all those different people from all around the world. And you know, it was tough. That last show was really tough.
And the high-flying, high-kicking Golden Eagles from Southeast Missouri State University leave the arena to the Stars and Stripes forever.
It's a spectacle. There's nothing like it in the world, and we're so fortunate here at Southeast Missouri State to have the opportunity to be a part of that. I mean, they could have picked Notre Dame or University of Michigan or USC or whoever, and they didn't. They picked us.
Each month we will take you on our journey where we look at new or familiar places, learn about new things, or listen to the tales of interesting people. Join us again on River Tales.